Hi everyone, I'm thilsey and welcome to this video about how I make my Sims. I'm gonna walk you through the entire process of how I make my Sims step by step and how I turn this into something that I would actually like to play with. I'm also gonna be showing off some CC favorites and some must-haves that I need for every single Sim. So let's get started with this one. First I need to remove everything because I'm just absolutely not gonna need anything this random Sim has to offer. But let's first start off with the body type. I usually use custom presets for the body types and I love these Miko presets. They are my absolute favorites. When it comes to the skin tone, I usually stick to warm skin tones. I just like them the most, and if I don't have anything planned what kind of Sim I'm making specifically, I either tend to choose whatever the Sim came with. So for this one I think I will just stick to this skin tone. If not, I just randomize until I get whatever I like. I don't usually pay much attention to that. So moving on to the face, and I'm gonna start off with the eyebrows. I just feel like starting with the eyebrows is kind of the easiest but still one of the most important steps. I really love currently these Proline Sims eyebrows that are really sharp for Sims that could probably have a lot of makeup and stuff, so they're not very natural. I'm really into them currently though. These also Proline Sims were my favorite for a while because they're so gentle. I use them on child and toddler Sims as well, I think. But when it comes to more gentle eyebrows, I really love Go Folds Me because all of their eyebrows are just so perfect for anything a little bit more natural, even though they have some fuller, stronger eyebrows as well. Might as well actually keep these eyebrows on this Sim. I usually kind of make the eyebrows a little bit thicker, but I don't think this Sim needs it, so I'm just gonna undo that. And now moving on to the eyes. I'm gonna probably mess with the eyebrow shape once I finish the face a little bit more, but the eyes are one of the most important and to me one of the most difficult parts. I usually really like this in-game preset and this one as well, so I like stuff that has a relatively flat line up here. This one is a little bit more rounded. I also really like these, again, Go Folds Me presets. They look a little bit weird when you just put them on, but when you mess with them and also add some skin details and everything, they look really, really good. So do these Miko presets. Now, when I do this, you probably don't really understand because I make relatively realistic Sims, but I make these so much smaller. Actually, don't know. I think it's usually these that I use. I make them like so much smaller and just mess with the shape until it fits, and then that looks really, really good. I'm not gonna go with these, but they can make some really good eye presets as well, even for more realistic Sims. I make this area a little bit more rounded, which is funny because I said I usually prefer this to be flat, but I prefer it to be flat initially, then I just round it out, and then I flatten this bottom bit a little bit more, and the pupils I make slightly smaller, and this area I like to pull out and pull it up a bit. I think this is a little bit maybe too big, especially when I put the eyelashes on. Yeah, this looks quite huge, but when I put the eyelashes on, it's going to be a lot easier to tell. I'm just going to make the eyes a little bit smaller and pull them down. This is something I always do. I make my Sims faces really centered on their face. Everything is kind of pulled up or pulled down, so everything is kind of in this area. I usually really like noses that are relatively a bit wider, so I really like this in-game preset, and then I just pull it up a little bit more. This looks really nice to me. So does this one. I just need to make it a lot wider first and then just kind of flatten it up a little bit. But when it comes to the custom ones, I really like these Peachy Fairy ones, especially this one. I tend to bring the nose up a little bit like that. It just looks really, really cute. The lips, I think, no, actually, I thought that she had the preset I like the most in the game, which is this one. But I also like these, again, Peachy Fairy ones. These Obscuras ones I don't really use as much, but they're useful sometimes. These, I don't know the creator, but they're also really nice, especially this asymmetric one. But I'm gonna go with the in-game ones, just like with the nose, and I make them a little bit wider. When it comes to the bottom lip, I tend to make that pretty much max fullness and then make them also a little bit wider, so it fills up on the sides as well. Top lip, I also make it a little bit fuller, but bring it in a little bit. I like them to have a tiny smile usually, but not too much, so it's not really like they're super sad, but it's not like they're really smiling. And for the chin, I think I usually just go with this first one and then just make it a little bit more straight, maybe a little bit smaller, and make it quite pointy. And now I can kind of squish the face together a little bit more, still bring the eyes down, and the eyebrows as well. I tend to have this problem where all of my Sims look kind of angry because it puts the eyebrows down so much, so I need to remember to tilt them upwards. But I think it's time to actually move on to the skin details already. I'm not really going to mess with the cheeks or with the jaw on this Sim because it's quite nice. I'm going to make the ears a little bit smaller and stick out a little more. But the skin details, that is probably the most fun part. In the start, I like to give them something that's relatively maxis match. So this V-skin is my absolute go-to. I've also downloaded a couple of other ones by, I can't remember who the creator actually is. I think it's Llama Tees, but I am really enjoying this look at the moment. So I think I will actually keep it because it's just so nice. And on the next layer, of course, I need to go with the eyelashes, and I still stick to these Kijiko ones. They're an absolute classic and I just can't really not use them. I have these by Miko. I use them sometimes, but they're a little bit too cartoony for me, so I don't know. I don't use them as much, but I really like these that go outwards a little bit more. They are my absolute favorite, and here I can see that the eye is maybe extending out a tiny bit too much, so I tend to adjust that when I put the eyelashes on, so I'm gonna bring it in just a tiny bit. And speaking of the eyes, before I go back to the skin details, I'm actually gonna add the eye overlay, which is always this Gopols Me G15, because they're just absolutely gorgeous. You can see that I do have some other ones, but I just never not use these. They are essentially my defaults. I cannot make a sim without them. But now that I've added that overlay, I can see that the pupil is maybe a bit small, so I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. But now I feel like the eyes are a bit big. I'm not very good when it comes to sculpting Sims faces, actually, as you can probably see. So I always have to tweak something, but adding skin details definitely helps. Some people, I think, just sculpt the sim and then add everything very confidently. I am not one of those simmers, so I need to adjust things as I go for sure. When it comes to freckles, I really like these freckles. I don't think I'm gonna put them on the sim because I literally just made a sim with freckles. I'm gonna skip the freckles for this sim, even though I would really like to, but I really like these and I really like these, so I'm gonna link both of those in the description because they're just so nice. You know what, just a little bit. I'm gonna add just a few. And moving on to the nose finally, I like using these nose masks by Prolin Sims, specifically this Patria and this Angelus skins. They're just defining the nose a little bit more, which is so nice. It's relatively subtle, but I just like to make the nose kind of a bit more prominent. And here I really like this Hunter skin. I think it's by Obscurus, but I'm not 100% sure, but I'm gonna find it for you. I don't think I'm gonna add it to this sim because she doesn't need it, but I love this skin. I love all the shadow and all the details it adds. But when I don't add that or dimples or anything else in this layer, I use it for this GS Shine, as I call it, but it's actually, I think, Glitchy Syndrome Blush, and it is absolutely a must-have. I don't treat it as a blush as in like makeup, I just treat it as pores and natural color of the face. The Sims just look so much more alive, even when you add the minimum, this white swatch, it just makes such a big difference. Then I move on typically to these eyelid overlays. Most of my Sims have them, which makes them all kind of look similar. I'm usually really trying to branch out, but I tend to fall in this trap where all my Sims are looking kind of similar. But these eyelid overlays by Remus Syrian are my absolute favorites. I actually don't think this sim needs them that much, so I'm not gonna put them on actually for once, but they are a must-have for me. But since this layer is free now, I'm gonna use this Pixis face kit, and I usually go with this second yellow swatch here. It just gives the nose a tiny bit of a shadow behind it to again kind of accentuate the nose. And speaking of the nose, in the next layer I have a couple of nose masks, and I really mean just a few. As you can see, I don't really have that much CC. My CC folder is relatively small. It's like 20 gigabytes or something, which I know isn't that small, but compared to some other creators, I feel like my CC folder is tiny. But I go between these these two nose overlays. One is by Obscurus, one is by Syrian. I think this one fits this nose so much better, so I'm gonna go for that. But it just kind of cleans up the shading from the previous nose mask by Proline. I think combining those two is just so nice. Sometimes I make it a little bit darker so the nose sticks out a bit more, but this sim fits a relatively gentle nose a little bit better. And the last layer is typically either for this GS shine, or if I have some room I can add another skin overlay, because at the very start I do a Max's Match one and then I blend it with something that's a little bit more alpha. So maybe something like this. These are all I think by Syrian. Oh, this one is actually I think Sims 3 Melancholic. But I really like to combine my Max's Match and my alpha overlays. It just looks so nice and it gives the Sims so much more detail. So I'm gonna go with that. Now moving on to the hair. I use alpha hair and I know that's not really the most popular thing in the community, but I just cannot let go of my alpha hair. It is just way too good. As you can see, Anto is an absolute classic. I have a lot of their hairs. A lot actually. But recently what I've been doing when it comes to hair, I just do this to go all the way here to Nightcrawler, because I've been absolutely obsessed with Nightcrawler recently. I don't know what it is, but I want to use their hair on all of my Sims. I think I've started in my Not So Berry because they have a really nice minty swatch and also really nice red swatch for the next gen. And then I just could not stop. They're just way too good. Like, look at this. It is absolutely gorgeous. So Nightcrawler hair it is for sure. Now I'm realizing she's a little bit too smiley for me. So let's bring that down. And also lips, I want to change a little bit to make them fuller on the upper side because it did make them a little bit too squished. So that's a little bit better. And now we can move on to the makeup. I don't know if this is a weird order of things, but I like to start with the eyeliner for some reason. I feel like it's kind of the easiest to pick. And when it comes to eyeliner, Go Pulls Me is one of my favorites. Sometimes the eye shape that I tend to go with doesn't really work with their eyeliners because it makes the edges a little bit bulky or not sit right, but that's totally just my fault. So I kind of need to figure out what works and what doesn't. But this liner CC35 usually works with pretty much everything. But for this one, I think I'm gonna go back to this CC51 because it just looks so nice. Next up are lips, and I am absolutely, for the longest time already, obsessed with this Proline Coffee collection, and especially this matte lipstick. Either this shade or this shade, just these two rows in general. It just looks so good. I have a lot of glosses. Most of them are again by Go Pulls Me. You can tell that I have a couple of favorite creators and I stick by them. The collection is kind of overwhelming, so I don't even use glosses that much because I don't even know what to do with them, but they're so good. But when it comes to glosses as well, I really like Syrian, especially this Ovate gloss. It is so absolutely gorgeous. Next up is a blush, and again I'm really liking this mocha one from Proline Sims Coffee collection. It is quite intense. I mean, I typically lower the opacity as much as I can so it's still visible, but a lot less intense. But I don't think this sim really fits that. Maybe again by Proline Sims, this one that just goes straight over the face. That is so pretty. Just make it a lot more gentle, and I am loving that so much. The eyeshadow is something that usually really terrifies me because I am not good at that. I don't know what I need to do for that to make it look good. So I either just skip it or choose something that's really subtle. So again, Proline's Coffee collection, these two are my go-to, just with the very low opacity. Oh wow, I don't use this glossy one very much, but that looks so good on this sim specifically. Lower the opacity a lot, and wow, that is stunning. But besides Proline Sims, I really like, again, Go Pulls Me. Eyeshadows, I have a mix of those two creators mostly because they're just really good. But the makeup is finished, so let's move on to actually dressing this sim. I didn't really mess with her body type aside from choosing the preset, so I'm gonna bump this up a little bit. I'm usually kind of here on the sliders. And when it comes to dressing the sim, I also have a couple of go-to favorite creators that I go with, and you can see just big blocks, like huge block of clumsy alien, and then huge block. It's honestly mostly just this one creator. Like, look at how many things. But I don't even know how to pronounce the name of this creator. It is so embarrassing because I love them so much. I think it's Trillica. I did research for this video to see, and I did find the creator explain it, but if I got that wrong, I'm sorry, but their stuff is absolutely so cute. And when it comes to pants, I have a very specific choice. Recently, I love these clumsy alien pants. I don't think they really work with this outfit specifically. They really do not, but I love the shape of them, so I'm gonna link these down below as well. These Madeline jeans are one of my favorites. They're just so good. And the clothing I'm picking is relatively Maxis matchy. I kind of go with Maxis mix. This I would say is both Maxis match, correct me if I'm wrong. But the shoes, I usually go with Gius because Gius is an absolute legend when it comes to shoes. So let's just go with something cute like that. I didn't think I would really make some kind of cutesy sim, but here we are. Let me just give her some normal in-game socks. It's kind of whatever. I have some custom ones. You know what? I might as well actually keep them since they're so cute. And when it comes to nails, I don't actually have any custom ones. To be fair, I do on the rings category, but I really like these in-game nails, so I just stick with them. And the last thing I need to do is give her some accessories. Piercings, again, Proline Sims is the way to go, but I'm not gonna give any piercings to her because I don't think they really fit her that much. But when it comes to jewelry in general, I do have a lot of Proline Sim stuff, but I'm really liking this creator Christopher 067, and same for the necklace. I have a lot of Proline Sim stuff because it's really great as well, but this same creator is just my go-to for quite a while at this point because their stuff is just absolutely mind-blowingly gorgeous. But here we are. This is the finished sim. Let me know, what do you think of her? Do you like how she turned out? Do you like my process? Is it different to yours? I don't think my process is very exciting or unique, but who knows? There's a lot of different sim styles out there, so your process might be completely different to mine. And if it is, if we have really different sim styles, if you would like to try the way I make sims and show me on Twitter, I would absolutely love to see it, so feel free to tweet me a picture. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will enjoy some amazing CC from the description. And while you are here, you might as well check out another video, treat yourself, and I will see you there in a second.